Okay. Hello, Mr. Kamaran. I'm so glad that I have you today here. I want to have an interview with you about the terrorism and the effects of our societies and also the Western societies. But first of all, I want you to introduce yourself if you can.
It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm glad to be part of this project. My name is Kamaran Aziz. I have a degree in philosophy and specifically continental philosophy, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are going to ask our first question.
Okay.
Is how the Western societies think of the predominant Muslim societies after the attack of ISIS?
Well, this is a rather good first question. I can say that the problem here is not specifically the Muslim society from the Western perspective. I think what we should ask is how the Western perspective has changed after the attacks of ISIS with regard to the Islam as a religion, and of course as an ideological belief. I think the question that we should ask is how do they view the ideology behind Islam, and I believe if we are able to answer such questions, we are getting close to the main parts of our inquiry. To be honest, after the start of the attacks of ISIS against predominantly Muslim societies, I think there is a shock within the Western system of thought, and the shock is that we've witnessed that the attacks were against Muslims first. So the countries, the societies that were under attack by the insurgents of the ISIS were predominantly Muslim, as you mentioned in your question. And this is what is challenging, I believe, for Western societies.
We have follow-up question.
Okay.
How do they think of the Kurds in this matter?
Well, I think, and this is a view from a Kurdish person for this question. I think how they view Kurds in this equation is that they think Kurds as their allies, and they've shown their support through their military assistance whenever we needed them. They were there, especially by their help from the airstrikes that they've carried out throughout the battle against the ISIS insurgents. And I think by doing that, the Kurdish position within the international community has improved to some extent. And this shows that to them we are viewed, or better still, the Kurds are viewed as a significant ally.
Our third question is, has terrorism influenced the life of Western societies?
Well, of course, I think there is no country at this time of the modern time, if we can call it modern time, that is not influenced by terrorism, and specifically Western societies are targeted for any such attacks. You could see the daily effects of terroristic attacks in Western societies, because they are now improving their security measures. For example, back in 10 years or before the attacks of Twin Towers in September 11th, for example, there were fewer security checks within the airports, but now we are saying that how those attacks have influenced the mentality of the Western societies, and how they are using new strategies to deal with such issues. But I think what we should do here is to think of such matters comparatively, and what I mean is that if we think of what is going on in countries like Syria or Iraq, our perspective might change with regard to your question, because what is a shock in the system of in the societies of Western countries is only a daily event in countries such as Iraq or Syria, and the tragedy is that this has become a very routine part of the lives of people here, and I believe that's the greater tragedy here.
We have our last and fourth question for you. What should the Middle Eastern societies do to get rid of these kind of attacks?
Well, I believe if the infrastructure of societies within the borders of Middle East is considered and is improved, if, for example, social services such as education or healthcare or well-being of the individuals and the community as a whole is guaranteed, I don't think that any person would be mindless enough to try to ruin that sort of society. That's why I believe that if we improve the social services such as education or any other such services within the community, I think we could battle the ISIS mentality, and I think we could be victorious over those dark mindsets.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamaran.
Thank you.
Your information is very precious. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.